The explanation we've provided so far for intra-industry trade might help bringing down the overall number for the IIT index. However, they don't really tell us why we have a positive correlation between income, measured by GDP per capita, and the level of intra-industry trade. This has been a challenge for models based on comparative advantage, such as the ones that we have studied in Lecture 3 and Lecture 4. Then, so the proposed explanation for what's going on with intra-industry trade has been to recognize that in the real world, sometimes the market structure is not very close to the perfect competition and the perfect competitive environment that we have described. Some researchers have proposed theories that are based on monopolistically competitive markets. What does it mean? It means that we have markets in which we have a lot of consumers and a lot of producers. The consumers perceive that each good produced by our producer in the market are somewhat different. So we look at goods as produced in the market as being different varieties, not perfectly substitutable with each other. The producers can exploit this fact that the consumers perceive the goods to be not perfect substitutes with each other, and so have some control over the market price. So this is why we have the word monopolistic, because producers have some control over the price of the variety of good that they produce. And but we also have the word competition, because there are many producers and there's nothing that prevents new producers to enter the market and produce new varieties of goods. One way to think about this market is to think about the market for vehicles. Think about how many different varieties of cars we have available. Just to name three, we have trucks, we have sedan, we have sport utility vehicles. Every producer of these different varieties of vehicles will have some monopoly power over this specific variety, and so some control over the price of these goods. This situation is not really compatible with the cost structure that we have described so far. To justify monopoly power, we usually need to have some form of fixed cost, initial fixed cost. Think about it as the following way. Suppose that you want to enter the market for vehicles and you want to come up with a new variety that is not yet available on the market for consumers. Imagine, for example, a new urban SUV that is extremely unique. Well, you will have first to make some research and development to come up with the design of this new vehicle, and then you will have to have research and development and marketing to convince the consumers that this variety is effectively different, and so your brand is effectively different than the one that are already present in the market. So there's an initial high fixed cost of entering this market, but then once this fixed cost is paid, producing new units is just like our usual constant opportunity cost structure. When we combine an initial fixed cost with constant opportunity cost to produce additional units, we get that overall the opportunity cost of producing more and more units is decreasing. So the more units of our new variety are produced, the lower is the marginal cost. And this explains why we can get monopoly power over our own specific variety. As we produce more units, and if we start first, we're gonna have lower costs of production than any other competitor that won't enter in our specific variety, but probably would rather produce a new variety of the same type of good. Okay, so now you might already have a sense of why this theory might help us explain intra-industry trade. Thinking about cars, we can think about the United States as a country that has been specializing in trucks. So think about the Ford F-150, for example. So we have this variety of extremely robust, extremely solid trucks for workers. The consumers perceive it as a very specific type of car, and the producers, in this case Ford and other manufacturers, become start producing more and more um, of these trucks, with the effect that then in the rest of the world there's no one that really has an incentive to enter in this market, and so other producers would rather pick other slightly different varieties of cars, um, and enjoy their monopoly power over the other type of variety. Another type of variety could be, for example, sports sedan or luxury sedan. And I'm thinking about producers like Germany, which has brands like, so German examples of German producers are like BMW and Mercedes. So they have developed this brand and this variety of cars that are perceived as extremely fast and at the same time luxury cars. So there's no other producer that is in that business, and so Germany will specialize in that specific brand and will export that specific type of car. So we see that then, if we consider Germany and the United States, we will see that there is trade in the large category of cars, and we're gonna export trucks for the F-150, and we're gonna import in the United States BMWs and Mercedes, which are a different variety under the same big container of cars. Notice that all these varieties, all this choice among products that are similar but slightly different from each other is common in developed economies. Another example would be cell phones. There's the iPhone, there's the Samsung Galaxy, there's phones that do more basic functions, right? And these are all available in developed countries, but they're not available. But all these varieties tend not to be available in countries that are poorer, because this abundance of varieties is something like a superior good. When a country gets richer, then you get access to a larger pool of varieties of goods. So that also explains why intra-industry trade is large and big in rich countries and not so big in developing countries.